Hello again. Process video number 4. I'm working on this big comic, also true. It's huge. It's so big that I'm scared of it. Does that sound familiar? I'm so excited by it. I've spent all this time thinking, like I described in my first video, or maybe second video. All of that thought is so valuable for figuring out the details, the moments, the textures, why it's a comic and not something else. All of that is so valuable, and now it's swimming in my head. And so what I do when I've got all this thinking going on is I put everything in a document. Sometimes it's just notes on paper, and that's fine too, but this story is so big that that's really challenging me, because I have ideas that are going to come later in the story or earlier in the story, so it can't be worked on chapter by chapter quite in that way just yet, even though that's where I'm headed, is to break things down into smaller chunks that I can manage just one at a time. But just to not lose things, to not lose all my details, excuse me, to not lose all my details, I have a Google Doc, and that Google Doc is now like, I don't know, 20 or 30 pages long. I put big structural things in there. I put tiny moments that I want to make sure are present in the book somewhere, even though I don't know where they go yet. I put my notes from various books, movies, TV shows, podcasts that I'm listening to that inform some aspect of the work, especially because in this one, it's a fictional story, but it's built in a real place. So I need to know the real place and know some of its history and understand the context that this story is entering and taking place in, as well as inventing the details of each character, of their backstories, of how they interact. So I have this big old document, which I'm going to show to you in a screen recording in a moment. And also, what I need to do next is take it from this massive document into a loose outline stage. And for me, because I don't write first, I don't do like a big long script and then work the images out of the script. I'm actually going to do it as a draft, but not a first draft, because the first draft feels like important. It feels significant in terms of what it's saying about the story, and I can't handle the pressure. I'm going to do what's called a zero draft. And so I'm going to take this massive document and I'm going to try to organize my thoughts chapter by chapter by actually on paper that is the size of, well, I'm doing it on letter paper right now. I think the final drawings might end up happening on a bigger size of page, but I haven't decided that yet and I don't need to. I'm going to take letter paper like this and use like probably a full stack of it, like a full package of letter size printer paper, and do drawings of each panel just super quick, like stick figure, loose sketch style, so that I can get down just a version of all the beats of every chapter, the order I want things to happen in. And I'm going to do it in the month of July because I've started this new challenge, this new internet comics challenge, where we work on a zero draft for the entire month of July to just get our ideas out of our head and get things started. This is what I need more than anything. I actually want to do this challenge because I need it, and I need the support of other people doing the same thing. And I think that having weekly meetings, which we're going to weekly drawing sessions every Sunday, 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern, and having friends involved, like my friend Sam Sharp is going to be kind of in this boat with me, as well as other cartoonists who decide to sign up, who decide to join us for this journey. It's just going to feel less lonely, and it's going to feel kind of insane to just like throw down a bunch of stuff without being worried about how good it is. But I really think this is going to help my process. I'm really excited for it. And if you're interested, you can sign up on Eventbrite to get the link just to come and join us on Sundays. There's no payment or anything. It's just like a mutual support situation. But I'm very, very looking forward to having a little bit more support around getting this thing done, because yeah, I've been talking about it and I've been thinking about it for a year, more than a year. I've been making notes, I've been doing sketches, I've got my inspiration up on my wall here, but I'm not doing it as quickly as I want. I feel like it's stalled out in between the idea and the thing itself coming into the world. So the zero draft, this is like the half step, but it's a half step that means a lot. So I hope you join me. I'm going to take a moment now and show you my crazy document just for fun. And then please, yeah, sign up for Zero Draft July so that we can all be in this together. I'm so excited to have something that feels close or one step closer to what it's going to be when it's finished, because I love my project. I love my ideas. I really, really want to see it happen, and I don't want to let my own procrastinating get in the way. Okay, here's my document. Here's how it starts. Genre and structure, because I wanted to articulate some of the bigger ideas that are basically running through this document or that inform the format, like how the pacing of the story is going to work, what are the big pieces that need to be a part of the genre. So I start there just with like, big ideas. And then I have this pitch section because I was trying to figure out how to talk about it. And sometimes that really helps for formulating ideas. How would I summarize this in a tagline? What conveys the intrigue? And some of the bigger questions, but in a mysterious sort of way. And then I gave a short pitch, then a very long pitch that I'm going to speed through. And then I started trying to outline things. And I did have to give myself a couple paragraphs of like, what exactly is the purpose of this? I'm conceiving of it in 3 books, but I think that's just to help me break it up into sections. It's probably going to be 1 book, but anyway, in the document, it talks about book 1, book 2, book 3. And then I go chapter by chapter, and I just use these point form notes because I cannot do like a formalized panel by panel or even page by page script. That is not my preference. I basically just want to know what the beats are. Like, what are the story chunks that need to be in this part so that we get to the next part and so that I can see how it kind of flows. But I'm not going to go too deeply into this because we would have to stop and read all of it, and that's not the point of this video. We are just checking out the insane length of this document. By the way, this document is 48 pages long right now, and it's like still sparse. Like there's so much more to go into it. But I need to just write. I need to like pour things out. Paragraphs, sometimes they're in the character's voice, sometimes they're me talking about the book or about the situation. And I ask myself questions. Then sometimes there's this research section. Basically me just being like, there's a bunch of stuff I don't know and I need to put this in here somewhere, or I need to learn about it enough to know whether or not it's going to be there, in what amount, in what way, etc. Blood, history of werewolves, history of trans people, drug use and addiction care, the Newfoundland wolf, Newfoundland culture and history. Losing teeth in dreams is a thing. Also because losing teeth when you transition to being a werewolf for the first time is a thing. Anyway, then I just have some other notes that like I haven't organized these yet. I just sort of dropped them in there with these simple little break symbols so that I understand this is just a standalone idea. And then later I try to organize them. Here I've got my reading, listening, and watching lists, some pop culture references that I want to make sure are identified to this period of time, and then notes from the things that I'm reading, like Illness as a Metaphor gave me a lot of quotes you can see here. This is the first time that I've got a lot of primary source materials in my work, because normally the primary source is me. And in this case, I'm writing about so many things that are outside of my experience that I'm just like hungry. I'm devouring external sources. And even things that are creative, like John Darnielle's Devil House, it's not directly related to what I'm doing, but it did give me a couple of quotes and a couple of ideas that I think I need to hold on to. So they're in there. Movies. I watched so many werewolf movies. Podcasts. Got a bunch. One in particular, the Magnus Archives, is a major influence. And then for the more creative side of things, this section is just words that feel related in some way in their essence to things that I'm talking about. I also put phrases in, so that comes a little later. I've got a lot of words. Phrases down here. I'm looking at just combining those words in different ways. Things that could inspire images to come, or things that could inspire like a twisting of something familiar. Then I've got images, and this is like things that don't yet have a tie to the storyline, but aesthetically really mean something to me. And moments, this is a little bit deeper. Moment is more about like the emotional moment as opposed to just the way something looks and what it kind of inspires. Yeah, moments that probably could belong anywhere in the story, but I just want to make sure I don't forget them, and then I can come back here and pull them out when I'm looking for something. Same with ideas, except that ideas are not necessarily something concrete that happens. They're just like an idea that needs to be expressed in the plot or whatever. Context, these are things I need to learn about for the context of where this stuff takes place. Like what happens around and outside the story to inform the moment that the story takes place in. And then I've got characters that I'm still fleshing out. And then this section is just all about the two characters and their conflicts, because it's a horror story, so conflict is featured. So I've got a whole bunch of those. Actions and events, so this is trying to nail down what the plot's going to be, but it's just a bullet point list, no problem. And then notes about the form. Yeah, like this is a comic. Why is it a comic? What is the form of the comic going to give to the story? Locations, that's still being worked out. And then I've got a section for one of the characters, long section about her, another section for the other character, who's the other main character in the story. And that's pretty much where it is. Oh yeah, and then there's a section of them together and moments that they experience only when they're in relationship. And that's it for now. But this is Chaos Document, and this is where I'm working for my zero draft.